Hey friends!
Hi, it's Caitlin and Shani.
With Get Checkered, which is part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown and community supported. So before we actually jumped on the call, Caitlin mentioned that she was up until 4 a.m. How are things going? It's been a
Yeah.
week. What have you been up to?
It has been a week. But it's nice. We're on reading break now officially. But the reason I was up till 4, it was not because of the Bonnie Bender that went on, which, by the way, did you hear about that?
No, what's a Bonnie
There was a
Bender?
club here at UBC that is throwing a 4-day bender, and they're calling it the Bonnie Bender because Bonnie Henry is the health person here, and she lifted restrictions. So they're calling
Oh,
it the
so
Bonnie
people are just
Bender.
like living. Okay, go
People
for
are
it.
going wild, and I'm just like, I didn't. I stayed home. And yeah, I finished an assignment, not even finished, but I did an assignment that one of my profs put due in the middle of reading break, and he only told us like 2 days ago, and I'm like, dude. So I'm not gonna be in Palm Springs by the pool doing an assignment, so I finished it prior to leaving. Hence the whole reason for 4. But 4 o'clock sucks. I can't be up till 4.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
28.
not.
I'm old.
Yeah, that's way too late for any reason to be up. But are you excited? When do you head out?
We leave tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So leave at 9:10. I have my COVID test at like 6:30 at the airport. It's fine. It's fine.
That's
It'll
not
all
work.
work out, right?
Yeah, you can always sleep on the airplane down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Well, what's new with you this week, Shani?
This week was, I don't even know. I'm so busy with things, people. My life is crazy, and this is a choice. I want to be sure that people know I'm very grateful, but it's just been a lot to do with work. And for those who don't know, I advise startups. Basically, that's I get to like chat with people in startups. It's really great. But it's also like there's a lot that needs to go into that because there's a lot of people you need to help. So I also taught this week. Oh, I didn't even remember that. There's a great nonprofit here in the city called Momentum that helps in poverty reduction, and they actually have like an entrepreneurship um, class cohort type thing that they do program, and I got to teach them for like 2+ hours. I think all about social media marketing. So my life has been crazy. It's been flying like very quickly. I can't even believe that we're almost at the beginning of the new season of Formula One.
I
Because
know.
by the end of last season, it felt like, oh, 100 days. Like that's so far away. And now I'm like, oh my God. We're already almost through February, which is so insane.
I know. And you know what's gonna happen like middle of March. Well, March 11th.
Is that
We're
the
gonna have Drive to Survive season 4 to take us literally maybe a day or 2 to binge. But I mean, we'll be
I
talking
know,
about it
which
for a
actually,
long time.
we know that you all like slide into our DMs. We've gotten emails before too. But if you have any ideas on how you want us to like talk about Drive to Survive, do you want multiple episodes? Do you want, I think an episode per episode of Drive to Survive is going to kill us. I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But do you want us to do like batches where we're like talking about 5 or something like that? Or just like season in one? I don't know.
You
But
know what? We
we
could do like a split of like halfway through the season because like the second half of 2021 season, like we really saw the flip in Lewis,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
it's like that could work. And
Exactly.
then like a whole bunch of highlights from a few episodes in one of our episodes, etc.
Exactly. So I don't know what you all have as ideas, but please let us know. I also wanted to mention, since Caitlin will be away, living her best life in way warmer weather than what we're dealing with. I actually took the opportunity or I'm going to be interviewing Amelia. So for those who are on Twitter, you probably know her. She is really brilliant, and I'm so excited. So that interview and like kind of conversation about basically everything that we think is wrong with Formula One will be out the following week. So you'll still get an episode even though Caitlin will not be here. Yeah.
Is Shani just holding the fort up?
Hyper organized. And gotta be. But today for the episode, we're going to talk about the car reveals that happened, as well as obviously the headline that, oh wait, Caitlin had another one about something about the Alpine team, which of course we'll get into. And then the big headline, which was, Masi being fired. I feel like we need the dun 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 music right here. But before then, we will go into an ad. So this episode is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities. Winter is coming and energy usage for all Albertans will be increasing. Just so you all know, um, there's like a giant snowstorm coming into Alberta, and Courtney is also dealing with one in Ontario. So, yes, not winter is coming. Winter is definitely here. And we were convinced for a little bit that it was gone because the weather was warm, and that wasn't true. So now is a great time for listeners to look at their utility bills and ensure that they're on the best plan. Albertans have a choice who they pay their utilities bills to. Park Power is happy to provide free, no obligation comparisons if you decide to switch providers. It's that easy. And you can feel good knowing you're supporting a local business and helping to give back to our community with your utilities bills. Learn more at parkpower.ca. All right, the cars. Okay, so the was it not the first car, but the more recent car reveal was for Ferrari, and I think there was some speculation that it actually might have been leaked online. Like someone posted a photo of their lanyard from a press event and like had a car photo on it. I don't know what happened. I didn't see anything. Like Caitlin, I've actually not been on social that much. So I was like, I don't know if this leaked or not. But they unveiled the F-175. And to quote that, Matea, he said the 75 is a reminder that it has been 75 years since the founder created the first car. I was reading some of these articles and looking at what people said online, and there's this really sarcastic comment where they're like, oh, this is quite a departure from their usual liveries. Surprised they were allowed to go in such a different direction, which, like, true. If anyone has seen it, I think it's hard, right? With Ferrari, like you can't really change much. I mean, you can change the build of the car, but in terms of the colors and stuff, there's like
it's just like the iconic red and Ferrari coat. That's just together, right?
Yeah, that's all you can do. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They're obviously this car is a bit more black, but the boys, there was a photo posted of them sometime last week, I think, and we actually talked about it in the episode, but they had their new little fits going on and there was like a black stripe. So I was like, okay, that means that there's going to be black in the vehicle. And sure enough, there was black, but I just wanted to tell everyone because they did their announcement virtually. It was all online. You can go watch the YouTube video. I'll make sure to put it in the description, but my God, the video was like kind of weird. Everything was so green screen-y, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, or like what was going on with that. At least the beginning part where Matteo was talking, I was like, what is happening? It looks like such a bad green screen. Like Ferrari, we know, has money too.
Oh,
you know what
no.
I mean? It looked like something that we would have created. Anyways, to give you a quick rundown of the rest of the video, the boys like came on and chatted about their careers. It was really weird too because Mateo's like basically said the same thing to both of them. I hope you just like bring it next year, essentially. And I was like, okay, this is just a weird car unveiling. But Caitlin, what did you think of the car?
So I did not watch the unveiling. I've been really slack this week, but I have seen pictures and like I saw all over Reddit they're talking about a particular part of the Ferrari design, and it's like, and I'm on ESPN right now, and they're saying, quote unquote, the team appears to have adopted similar side pot louvers to the ones that caused a stir at Aston Martin's launch and prompted comparisons on social media to cheese graters and shark gills. I've also seen memes online of like someone making the ohhhh chicane, like just overlaid it on top of this little side pod area. And I'm like, so people are just like, I don't know, it's a very interesting design. I'm gonna say some people are going crazy online for it. We'll see how good the car performs, I guess, with that. I don't know. I'm not gonna be the aerodynamic engineer that tries to figure that out right now though.
Right? Like I was just kind of like, okay, it looks fine. It looks bigger than I mean,
Yeah, it looks
as
chunky.
it does, right? It does look chunky. And I know I said that about the Haas car, but it looks bigger. And I think the most distinctive thing that you'll see right away, aside from those giant cheese grater type things on the side of the car, is just the black. And that was the only thing that
Mhm.
really stuck out to me. But in the video, to quote Charles, he said, it looks huge, which is true. It does look huge, as it needs to, because the tires we know are bigger, obviously. So need to like account for that. But it does look really, really big. So I don't know what's going to happen there.
Big car. Relatively little boy.
Right? These boys are not like big dudes either.
No,
So I don't know.
might just dwarf them in there. But we'll see.
Exactly. So I think something that we've noticed is with all these announcements, it's like, okay, they announced the car, great, but like no one knows anything until we get into testing. So
Yeah,
it's
everyone's like, we have to do these launches, I guess, but the car is going to change significantly before the first race.
yeah, and
Who said that?
Mateo,
Christian Horner did.
yeah, Christian Horner said that.
Yeah.
Mateo said something similar where he's like, well, he kept saying like the word innovation. I was like, okay, in the video, but I'm like, okay. But even he acknowledged that, we worked really hard. This is really great, blah, blah, blah. Here's like a touch point of heritage because of the name, but like it's going to change a lot. So I feel like we've talked about this last week, but I feel like these events are kind of useless. Like it's not, nothing is happening that's like interesting yet, right? Until these vehicles get out there and get tested, and until we get to see like what they can actually do and what reports are coming back from testing. Like that's when it starts to get interesting to see who's actually developed a better car or who's made leaps and bounds ahead of the others.
Mm-hmm.
Like these designs don't mean anything yet, which I think is the big issue.
Well, and so I may be bad because I'm not going to these launches. I'm not watching them, but like, do they talk about what's been upgraded?
Yeah. So if you like I said, I'll put the link to the Ferrari one in the description, but you can fast forward through the first part. It's only 14 minutes and like something seconds long. Skip the first 7 minutes. Get to the car part, the car unveiling, and they do talk about what they've changed. But a lot of it is just like they just have to say the consistency has been they just had to make it from scratch. Like they're like nothing stayed. There might have been like the chassis that stayed a little bit, but even that they had to adjust. So the consistency across the board for all teams, but even at Ferrari was like, yeah, we changed all these things and all these elements, but then it ends up being like pretty much the entire car to fit the new regulations. So that's why it's like, okay, so then everyone had to change everything. So again, we won't really know anything until we get to testing. But I did note here, because I think that the more interesting headline tied to Ferrari is that Carlos is in contract negotiations, at least according to autosport.com.
That's exciting.
Yeah, because I think he's probably on like a 2-year, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Right. So obviously we all know this season or last season, he finished ahead of the child prodigy that is Charles Leclerc, which was so insane. So
Carlos had a phenomenal year. There's a reason, you guys, Shanika and I put him as number one in our driver rankings.
Yeah, he was so great, and in a way that no one was expecting. So I've seen a few headlines and they were saying like this will be an easy negotiation because he's done so well in that first season. But it got me thinking, Caitlin, and I'm curious what you will think. There's still Mick Schumacher like waiting in the wings. So what happens to Mick Schumacher if Carlos gets extended by, let's say, like another 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think because they have Alfa Romeo in their family too.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps if Carlos keeps performing and so does Charles, like they're great. You don't really want to mess with that, especially because Mick has only one season under him now, and he's obviously still trying to get used to the F1 cars. So maybe he goes to Alpha and he stays a reserve driver for Ferrari. And then I think it would be Carlos leaves and they put Mick in eventually.
That's what I was surprised though, because all we hear is, that legacy that Mick Schumacher has because of his dad at Ferrari. And
to be honest, I think like Mattia probably has to really consider that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's probably a lot of pressure to try and get Mick into a seat relatively quick.
Yeah, and then also, how does it even work? Because with Alpha, we know Valtteri has signed a multi-year deal. We know that because that
Yeah,
was
that's
announced
yeah.
as soon as he wasn't at
Mhm.
Mercedes anymore and signed the deal. But then Guan Yu is the one that would need to leave the seat, which might happen. It's his first year. We've seen how the first years
Mhm.
go for Formula One. Not always the best. Gets a little hairy. But where does it becomes like the driver shuffle that we always talk about? Because then Guan Yu, I feel like, is bringing so much money, a
Yeah,
new country into the sport, that for the sport they're probably like, we don't want him to leave. I don't even
that's a
know.
very good point. I said Alfa Romeo. I didn't even think about the new people that were going in. I'm still thinking like last year. But no, that's a very good point. And I wonder if Ferrari might even enter into negotiations to partner up with another team or something.
I don't know. I have no idea because Alpha needs the money, but Mick could bring money, right? Like he
And
could
like
bring
Mick
money.
in the Ferrari name is just like that's a different kind of powerful, right?
Exactly. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think we're both
Interesting.
collectively excited to see Carlos get a well-deserved contract extension after how many times did he jump teams? Because he went from
He was
Toro
Toro Rosso,
Rosso.
and then oh gosh, I've seen his chart and I forget it. He was Toro Rosso, then he was Renault, and then he was McLaren, and now
Yes.
he's Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're spot
I'm
on. Because
kind of like
I couldn't
Daniel
remember.
Ricardo. It's like following that. But he won't be coming to
Oh
Ferrari,
yeah.
pretty
I
much
didn't even
is
think about
where the
that.
cutoff is.
I didn't even think about that. That's actually so true. I forgot about
Although
Renault,
it
but
wasn't
yeah,
even Toro Rosso Red Bull, but the vibe.
very similar career paths. You're spot on,
Yeah.
except that you're right. I don't know. We'll talk about Danny Rick some other time, but I think he will end his career at McLaren. I personally think.
Yes. Yes. If it's this year or next.
I think he will. Even if he stays longer, I think that's will be his place where he ends things.
Okay. Yeah, that's worth a discussion for another time. I don't think McLaren
Exactly.
would keep him more than 2 years, but
Okay. See, here we go.
continuing.
So the next car that was announced this week was the Mercedes vehicle. And there was, for everyone again, it should be linked in the description somewhere. You can watch it. It'll be pretty cool. Very long video. So there's the um, Ferrari with the 7 minutes of a lot of talking and then 14 minutes of chatting about the car, kind of. But it's a 14-minute, sorry, another 7 minutes of chatting about the car. So total 14 minutes. Mercedes, 48-minute long video. And I was like, good God. So I'm watching it at double time, which is a great trick I learned from my co-founders actually over at my old startup. They were like, why are you watching these not in double time? And I was like, oh my God, life changing, life changing. After that, amazing. You can learn so many things so quickly. But the video was really dramatic, Caitlin. So I highly recommend you at least skim through it, maybe when you're on a plane or something. The very beginning is a video, an audio of Toto talking about how they have to are building from zero or something. It was so dramatic. I was like, okay. And then unlike the other unveilings, Mercedes actually had two hosts. And I think they are British reporters. Of course, I'm sorry, y'all. I did not recognize them. I
Was
did
one
love,
of them Natalie Pinkham?
I think so.
Okay. I've seen the pictures. It was her and someone else. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So love the diversity though. I was like to have a woman of color and a white woman and, kind of leading the conversation here. We love to see it. And I wrote a note here just because I'm a marketer. I was like, it's really smart actually to have external hosts that are in the media because it's just far more coverage. You're already getting a ton of coverage because it's Formula One. But by having these hosts a part of it, you're getting coverage on their socials. Just aside from the usual, oh, look, the cars are out. Go check it out. It's no, these are people that are so active in it. So I think it's very smart. One of the notes that I had was just again, the video was so long and everyone was just chit chatting away. And I think it's because they've been so silent. And I found it very difficult because I'm I just need to see the car. We need to see the car. We need to get to the car. And then I kind of checked myself because I was like, okay, this stuff is probably important. So you should pay attention. Only to then get distracted by the fact that Okay, Lewis Hamilton, I think, is like 5'6", right? Which is the majority of the height of the drivers,
Is
correct?
he really?
Babe, I swear to God. I
Okay.
swear.
Okay.
He has to be like 5'6", maybe like 5'5", 5'6", 5'5", somewhere around there. Um, but it was just so funny. Like, see, so where they were seated, there's obviously the reporters on one side, and then it goes George, Lewis in the middle, and then Toto. And just the leg height difference on like between Lewis and Toto and George, I just thought was so funny because his legs were kind of like swinging versus like George and Toto could touch the ground. Um, and hey, this is me. I love a short king. Okay, I really do. And I'm a big stan of like the Tom Holland Zendaya vibes. Love it. I just thought it was like visually so funny that his legs were swinging and then they were fully like touching the ground. I was like, okay, I don't know who did this, but okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is also the first time, aside from socials, that we get like a real true intro to George as the Mercedes driver. So he had a few things that he said. He's just like really excited for the season and that it's a real privilege to learn from Lewis and to drive alongside of him and, really just learn everything he can. Um, I don't know. I think he just seems very settled at the team and like very comfortable.
That
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, right. Because I guess he's still been their reserve driver, hey, the whole time that he's been
Yeah.
at Williams.
And I
So
think like there's probably been so many discussions in the background where like he's been promised the world by Mercedes. So he thinks like
yeah,
in a very odd way, he like owns the team, right? Like they're gonna want me as their up and coming. And so like
exactly.
I feel like that's the vibe.
And I actually agree with that. He was like, yeah, I was totally comfortable. I've known everyone for a long time. Like nothing felt weird. I was like, okay, he just no nerves. And I was like, I would be like losing my goddamn mind if I had to, be next to Lewis Hamilton and now compete with him, but then also against him to some regard. So I don't know. I think we covered his like career earlier, but one of the things that you hear about George Russell is that he's so marketable, right? Like that's what they were saying so early on in his career. Like when he gets paid, he's just like the biggest marketing person that could be in Formula One. And I kind of saw it with watching the video. He's very well media trained, which is something that,
Which is this like a generational thing too, though? Like not even
maybe.
thinking about the other drivers in the generation right now, but like Gen Z is well aware of the repercussions of social media and like interviewing and
Yeah.
all that, right? Versus, I don't know, is that a pattern?
I don't know, but I was just like, oh, he like knows what he's saying. He's sticking to the points, not saying anything too wild, keeping it very level-headed. So I was kind of impressed, to be honest. I was like, okay, everything that we read or heard about him being marketable, I can start to see it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's happening. Lewis, on the other hand, was super chatty, which for everyone, and this is why I stopped fast forwarding through everything because, he has been silent for pretty much like since Abu Dhabi up until like a week ago. So, and even then, it's just been like updates on social versus him like actually talking about where he's at with certain things.
Mhm.
So in regards to George, he said like having George around felt really natural. Again, probably because George has been around for freaking ever. And lest we forget, there's a photo of George and Lewis when George is like 10.
A
Um,
child. Yep.
and then the two of them meeting, and so George is probably comfortable around Lewis. But I wanted to pull some direct quotes because I think one of the things that we all thought was how was he doing at the end of the season, and whether he was coming back, right? Like that was the biggest speculation. So this is what he said. I always see that through these experiences, this is Abu Dhabi, by the way, you can turn the emotion into strength and power. And that is what I'm doing. If you think you saw at the end of last year, I think if you think what you saw at the end of last year was my best, wait till you see this season. Fighting words, love to see it. And then when he was pressed a little bit more on that, he said, ultimately, this is the sport I have loved my whole life. But there was a moment where I had lost a little bit of faith in the system. But I am generally a very determined person. Caitlin, we know this because he is a Capricorn. And I thought, will moments like this might define others' careers? I refuse to let it define mine. So I focused on being the best I could be and coming back stronger.
That's very kind of what we were expecting and hoping from Lewis. Right? Like, use it to fuel your fire and come back stronger. Capricorn, totally.
Totally a Capricorn. I'm going to ask you questions about Lewis afterwards, though. So there's one other thing that I wanted to bring up just because this ties into like sort of the next episode that will be that you'll listen to next week. But they also had the junior drivers come on stage, which was like so sweet. But they're even junior drivers, the ones that are like coming into the driving school, who are like children. Okay, people, they look like they were 10. No, not even look like they were 10, 11, like babies. We're all diverse, meaning like it wasn't just a bunch of white boys. There was a young girl there. There was someone with an Asian background, like actual diversity was being shown. There's one junior driver that couldn't come because he was they were competing. So it was really good to see. And I think what was interesting about the Mercedes video versus the ones that we've seen so far, there's like real discussion of like Mercedes legacy, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think it was Natalie that asked the question about like, hey, these young folks, like, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Lewis immediately zeroed in on diversity because he's like, it's so great that there's like this young woman joining the driving school, but we need more of that. And like, that's something that we're committed to. And then Toto was asked like a similar question. And Toto immediately highlighted Lewis's fight against injustice and how much Mercedes is driving towards diversity. And what surprised me is that he even said, he's like, being part of the 99.9% white manager world, like we are the ones that need to utilize change. And he also talked about what they're doing from a grassroots level. So not just their hiring practices and the growth that they've seen in diversity in their team. So making like the HR policies that need to happen for you to actually hire diverse folks, but also how they're going into schools through, Lewis's nonprofit and the partnership they have there to really push STEAM also, by the way, focused work and studies and stuff like that.
STEAM?
So STEAM actually includes the arts. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So STEM is traditionally what? Science, technology, engineering, mathematics,
and math. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess the new age one is more STEAM, to be like, no, there's like the arts, the liberal arts, stuff like that need to be embedded into that as well. So Caitlin looks so confused.
I know. I'm just like, are we just going to make everything except business now?
I mean, business exists, but I mean, look at me. I work in ag and food and stuff, and I didn't have any background in all of that. So
it's fair. And like, I don't think STEAM are the only options, is what I'm kind of getting at, right?
Yeah. So we'll see. But the whole thing is they're going to these schools to try and support diversity through the actual education process, so that when people are coming out with jobs, it's actually diverse folks that are coming out with potential to go into these careers, basically, is the whole goal. So I just thought it was interesting that they highlighted that. And I think, again, like I said, it's like highlighting legacy. But my sort of why we were all there today was to see the fucking cars. So we do finally get to the cars. I swear, in the last 6 minutes of this 48-minute long video. And as we all saw, the silver arrows are back. From what I saw, the car does look smaller than the rest of the cars, like slimmer, more aerodynamic, which I'm not surprised. And the boys actually hadn't driven it yet, and we're going to be testing, I think, like that day. But apparently the weather was like super wild in the UK. So Lewis joked and said like, oh, George is going to go first. And then, and then I'll go because it was not the best weather. And one of their, I forget who it was, but it was one of the senior team that's like works specifically on the engineering side and actually building the car, so that they basically had to change everything except the steering wheel. So Caitlin, 2 questions for you. Lewis, he seems to be in a good headspace, as we predicted. He just needed a break to like center himself. What do you think this next season is going to hold for him now that we've heard from him? And then also, like, what did you think of the cars?
So I think on the Lewis front, yes, he says he's done a lot of work on himself. How does it translate to the track? I want to see.
Yeah.
And only really like seeing that will tell us. So I have to check in after the first few races, I guess, to ask that again. But I think like he'll be what he was for the last half of 2021.
Yeah.
He's going to be fighting probably like that the whole season, like aggressive, I think.
Yeah.
And then what do I think of the cars? I mean, it's okay. Like I think whether you're like you love the silver or you love the black, I'm just like, I think I'm more on the black side, to be honest. It just looks so sleek.
Yeah.
I don't know, this silver is just not doing it for me, but like, I mean, it's still a good car, so it'll be fine.
So out of all of the cars that have been unveiled so far, which has been your favorite?
I'm still with Aston Martin. Oh, that lime green.
I know, and you're not the only one. I was chatting with someone like related to my work and other things, and they said the same thing. They're like, Aston Martin's unveiling was so good and the car looks so good that you know, she's someone that enjoys Mercedes so much, but was like, nope, the Aston Martin one looks a lot better.
What's your favorite car, Shani?
Mine is also like, in terms of the unveiling plus just like what it looked like, it is the Aston Martin one. Nice. For sure. Because like I get it, the silver arrows are back and it's like, ooh, but I'm also like, we did this already.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if a different kind of silver would have made me love it more, or if it would have looked, but it's just like almost like a kind of boring silver, TBH.
Yeah. So
whatever. It's like busy too. Like there's a lot going on. They added all those Mercedes stars, and I'm like, it's a lot.
Yeah, and under the I actually saw this comparison on Twitter, which I thought was so funny, but under the oh my gosh, what's it called? It's like the rear wing, is that what it's called? Yep. Yes. They painted it out like with a red. I don't know if you see that. And someone compared it to like the Christian Louboutins.
Oh. I like it. Maybe they are going for that.
I'm like, oh, they're trying to look expensive. We should say Petronas is still, you know, the giant sponsor is still prominently displayed. That partnership, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Even I think when they talk about it, it's like the Petronas Mercedes one vehicle, blah, blah, blah,
like
whatever.
a huge partnership. The Ineos, I can tell, like obviously they have quite a bit of branding on the car, so they're pretty big. But I hate the red. Oh, I don't think it's a good color combo at all to throw red on there.
Wait, sorry, which red?
They have a red whenever there's really Ineos, so they have it on top of the car. Yeah. They have it on the inside of the front wing, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's the red you see at the underside of the rear wing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, there's because you have a black, you have turquoise, and you have a silver color scheme, and you throw red in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not great.
Well, I mean, like, it cannot look the best and drive well, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. And speaking on that note, actually, again, the senior team that had joined to just talk through the car a little bit basically said that, you know, this is going to change a lot and that they expected to change a lot through the season. So I was like, okay, great. So 48-minute event. I think the benefit was hearing from Lewis specifically and them harping on diversity and seeing these juniors and giving them opportunity to like get on that stage and start making a name for themselves. But it also was like a 48-minute long video. And I'm like, my God, people, for you all to share things that it's like not that interesting. I'll say it. The car was not that interesting, you know, like it's just not that interesting. So I don't know. We just need to get to preseason testing. That's all. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's everything on the cars. The car reveals from this week. There are a couple more next week. I believe Alpine's actually next on the docket on the.
And we're looking for a BWT Pepto Pink on there, right?
That's what I'm hoping for. I've seen some mock-ups and I don't know if they were real or not online. But hopefully I want the Pepto Pink cars to stay to some degree. It doesn't have to be all pink, obviously,
But just some pink.
just some pink would be great. So on the note of Alpine, though, Caitlin pulled up a headline.
That was a very good little tie-in. Good work,
Yeah,
Shannon.
you're welcome. Great.
So yeah, I guess during the unveiling, we're going to see their new team principal because it was announced all over socials that Otmar Staffsnauer,
I think
you guys know him as the previous Aston Martin team principal. So we saw in January, it was announced he was leaving.
Yeah.
And it's just been announced this past week that he is joining Alpine as the team principal role. So we talked about it. It was episode 37, Courtney and I. And we brought up that Otmar was linked to a move with their rivals Alpine late 2021, and it was even commented back at the Sao Paulo GP. And
Holy
then
shit.
he said pure speculation. And then there was even talk about like Alpine and Aston Martin switching their team principals, but we know that Mike Crack was announced for Aston Martin team principal. So we're like, okay, so where's Marcin was the old guy at Alpine? Where is he gonna go? I actually don't know where he ended up going because he's
I don't.
whatever. It is what it is.
He's probably not in Formula One anymore.
Now going to Alpine is great for Alpine because he has like a good wealth of leadership experience. He was with like Racing Point and Force India from way back.
Do you think he's bringing the BWT sponsorship then? Because
that could make a lot of sense.
Racing Point and Force India were all obviously we know Racing Point hot, like the bubble gum pink for sure, the Pepto Pink, but it started with Force India, that sort of partnership.
That's a very good point. I would definitely put that as a possibility, a high possibility. And then someone like we commented too that someone online on therace.com post actually brought up that like someone between Otmar and Marcin was either going to Haas to replace our man Gunther, which is evidently not gonna happen from what we know at this point. So hopefully Gunther stays on. We love him. Yeah, so we'll see how Alpine does. Honestly, it's like I find the timing, he must have been onboarded for some time before they're doing this announcement, because I don't think a month is enough time to bring someone in. Like you announce he's coming in as team principal. A month is not long enough, I don't think, especially considering like we have that 100-day break.
Yeah, exactly.
From end of 2021 to now. So they should have been, hopefully, I don't know if this is true or not, they should have been onboarding him to the team and getting him used to everything. So,
but that's a good point.
We'll see how the dynamic is, I guess.
So onboarding sucks. Well, it can be great. It can be great, but it does take a long time, let alone if you're like holding such an important role in an organization. So for them to announce it in like late 2020, or like the rumors start flying in late 2021, it makes you wonder if that's like maybe when they started. But like, can you onboard someone when they're working for someone else? Like, is it just like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that's so funny that he was like, oh, it's just speculation. And now he's like actually leaving, which might mean that a lot of these rumors in Formula One are actually true.
Right. Someone gets them from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone thinks like this would be a very interesting move for people, like a good move for so-and-so. Yeah. They're probably thinking the same thing.
And then Haas with Gunther. That's another thing. I'm going to be honest. I'm still surprised that he's there.
He's kept, I know. We'll see what Drive to Survive season 4 means, because like how was the whole Haas environment this past year? Like he has to deal with like the Mick and he who shall not be named drama.
Yeah, exactly. And as outsiders like looking in, it's clear that those people do not get along. So I'm curious. And remember, it wasn't Drive to Survive when like Kevin Magnussen and they call him the Phoenix now, who is it? Roman Grosjean. Like it was very clear when they were butting heads and we got to see like the behind the scenes of how pissed off it made Gunther. So I'm sure we'll get some good edits coming from that place.
I'm excited to see. I'm always excited to see these like behind the scenes now. Because now that we know what the front of the scenes was, let's know behind the scenes.
I think that will be the best part of Drive to Survive watching it this time around, is like we have it all documented, our thoughts, right? Of like every single race last season, or like issues that we were seeing with the drivers and the teams and the team principals. So now, like you said, to see it on the other side and be like, oh my God, what's going on? It'll create a great picture. The only thing is, of course, we really won't know. Like, I'm just curious to see how they handle the Max Verstappen not being a part of Drive to Survive. Right, because he said no, so it's like, how do you, I don't know. I think you can still do it, but I just think it's weird.
We shall see.
Exactly, we'll see on March 11th,
coming up soon. So before we get into the big discussion from this last week, we're going to do another quick ad. So with Pod Power, sponsors are making it possible for us to amplify the voices of Albertans and Alberta podcasters. This episode, Edmonton Community Foundation is helping us give a Pod Power shout out to Book Women. Book Women is a podcast about editing, publishing, and writing Indigenous stories. 3 Métis librarians representing nations from across the homeland aim to inspire Indigenous peoples to share their stories in whatever form they can enjoy. Guests include Indigenous storytellers from diverse mediums like podcasting, burlesque, books, comics, social media, films, music, and everything in between. You can listen and find out more at bookwomenpodcast.ca. That sounds fun.
Right? It's a great little pod. So I'm excited that we get to give them a shout out. But I guess like the headline of our episode today is, do we say it at the same time? Can we say it at the same
3,
time?
2, 1. Masi fired. We did not time that out well. No. But like, yeah, Masi fired. I was not thinking I would make this episode because of, schools and traveling. But like, as soon as this headline came out, I'm like, okay, guys, I'm going to make time. We are going to talk about Masi being fired.
Yeah, I think
been waiting for this for so long.
We've been waiting for something to happen. So for those who don't know, Michael Masi has been holding this role now for approximately 3 years. He took over the role after the previous race director, who was like lauded, everyone loved him, kind of passed away rather suddenly. So he just kind of stepped into that role. And obviously with Abu Dhabi, it's just been a giant question mark of like, what's going to happen with Masi? And we've heard the drivers give some input. So I would say like kind of sidestepping it a little bit. Like Lance Stroll last week was very much like, this shouldn't have happened. We need consistency. Sebastian Vettel was a bit more like, Michael's great. He's done great. He needs more support. So there's like, we're hearing a lot of different things. Obviously post Abu Dhabi, Toto, very angry, very, very angry man. Didn't really direct everything at Michael Masi, but there were things said. So we got the update straight from Formula One, and I am taking quotes directly from the article / the one from Forbes. But the whole thing, the subheading was, Michael Masi will be replaced as Formula One race driver and offered a new position within the FIA as part of a series of changes following the governing body's analysis into last year's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
So I guess like we're saying fired, but he's been redistributed elsewhere into the FIA.
Okay, but still, that was like one of the things that drove me crazy, because every other organization or like news organization or on Twitter was like, he was fired. And the FIA and Formula One are like, no, we just moved him to a new role. We offered him like just a different job. Caitlin, what do you think? Was he fired?
No, he was demoted, probably. But not fired, which is probably for legal reasons with companies, etc., fun stuff.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly. Like the headlines were Michael Masi was fired, but the reality of it is, it seems like they just shift his responsibility to a different role. He probably is getting paid the same. He would not get paid less, because again, what Caitlin said, behind the scene business stuff, like optically it doesn't look good for you to demote someone but then also pay them less and have this like international incident that happened tied to it. You just move them somewhere else. He's probably still holding like a senior position too, I would imagine. Um, Obviously race director is like the best position, but you know, whatever
Mhm.
else is senior below that. I don't know.
And you know what? I think perhaps he wanted that too, and we won't know until he speaks on it. This is speculating, but like with the amount of hate he's getting from that, like he's
Yeah.
getting love too and support, but like the amount of hate that must take a toll on someone. So
Yeah, I actually think you bring up something very like smart, which is just we don't know what he's decided to. And it also might be like, we need to move on from Abu Dhabi. You replacing me is a way to just start shifting that narrative away from just like the mess that happened in December. So it might even be like him falling on his sword, which typically for, you know, larger organizations, like is something that if you have a good person in that senior role will do to try and be like, okay, we need to take the heat off of the organization, take it off of me, just put me somewhere else. So he is being replaced by, okay, good God, the names every time. Niles Wittich from World Endurance Championship and Eduardo Freitas from DTM. So they're both replacing him, which I thought was interesting. So now it's no longer one person, it's two
they're
people.
splitting their responsibility. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think I can't remember what episode, but we brought up that as a possibility. Because even I think someone pretty like prominent in the industry said it in a interview. They're like, the job's too big for one person. We're like, we totally agree. And now we see that yes, it is too big for one person. 23 races is too much for one person to handle.
Exactly.
So splitting it up, that's probably a good call. But it brings up a very important question. Everyone's talking about consistency. How do you keep these two peoples consistent with each other?
Exactly. 100%. Because if we're going off the assumption that they're going to split the season or something, um, yeah, how do you keep them consistent? And then also, fine, let's say hypothetically they're both at both all the races throughout the season. If they're both disagreeing on a call, then who trumps like them? You know what I mean?
Did they say there was going to be like a senior person to make a call or something?
So this is some of the other changes that happened. Herbie Blash, wonderful name. I was like, this person's name is amazing. Will be returning to F1. That Herbie previously acted as the deputy to Charlie Whiting, which is the person, the race director before Michael Masi that everyone loved that passed away kind of suddenly. And he'll be on as a permanent senior advisor. Again, what I think is surprising here is like, why didn't they keep him on the whole time? Because
Cost or something. Permanent senior advisor. Old contractors usually can charge quite a bit of money for their time.
yeah, but I'm just like, people with Michael Mast, if you have, you know, Charlie passes away and his like deputy then isn't supporting Michael Massey, it just feels like that was just a lost in process almost.
It seems like someone was trying to like streamline and it was up. Didn't work out.
But I think that he might be the person to, if these two were to like disagree, to be like, hey, this is what was done in the past. This is what I would say through my experience we should be doing, stuff like
That's
that.
a good idea.
That's
a
what
good
I
idea.
think.
I'm gonna pick my cat up. I have a story to tell you about Clover.
Oh, okay. The So all three of them, oh my God, she's so cute.
The vet told me she's the fat one.
What do you mean she's the fat one?
Fergus is ideal weight. Clover's overweight.
How did Clover become overweight? She was always like the size of our foot.
I'm flabbergasted. But yeah, that's the story about Clover. So
oh my God, is it because she's already naturally so small and she
just has like a lot of extra fat around her stomach.
Oh my God.
And she's not even a year old. I have failed as a cat mom.
You need to start like putting her on the treadmill with something and get her walking, or like the dogs in the little like.
I bought this great cat toy. Sorry, this is super side tangent, but she woke up. And it has catnip on the end. It's a very simple design. It's called the Cat Dancer, if anyone's heard of it. It's great. These cats go crazy for it. They're jumping around, huffing and puffing. They have to like take breaks to breathe hard. I'm like, okay, We're
Yeah,
gonna get you to lose weight.
Clover,
Clover.
you gotta lose some weight, girl. Jesus. So going back to the three of these folks, they will start their roles in Barcelona right in time for the preseason. There were some other changes too. So as you all know, the FIA has a new president, Mohammed Ben Salim. I nailed it last time. This time I don't think I did. So there will be a virtual race control room. And to quote him directly, so like the video assistance referee, VAR in football, which is soccer, for all the North American listeners, it will be positioned in one of the FIA offices as a backup outside the circuit in real-time connection with the FIA F1 race director. It will help to apply the sporting regulations using the most modern technological tools. I don't know what the fuck that means, but
I think I think there's been controversy with it actually in football, but I don't actually know what it is. I have not apparently stayed on top of that, but I think it has to do a lot with like adding extra time or something to decisions and like adding more people into the mix, and like people saying like that's why you have a referee in the first place. But I think it's great, honestly, because you have people watching that have access all over the world to different views of what's happening. So why not give like the referee in this case the same opportunity to see it in different views? And so let's just go back to a Calgary example. If we go to the 2004 Stanley Cup Final, Game 7,
yes,
it was a Game 6. We would have won in Game 6.
Yeah,
it's like the puck was in.
Yeah,
right? If the referee was given outside support to help make that call, he would have made the correct call.
This is so funny. This is like something, if you were born in Calgary, around, not even born, if you like experienced that situation in 2004, right?
Yeah.
You will, yeah, never let it go. And Caitlin's right. It's a great example of like why we need technology to support things, because
the referee is there for their job to keep the game fair. Help them make the game more fair. Like why would you not want that?
Exactly. So we'll see how it goes this time around. I think it'll do wonders, especially with the cost cap and like accidents. Like remember when the big Max's huge accident happened and Christian Horner was like, well, with the cost cap, like who's going to be held responsible for paying for these kinds of damages, right? There's no answer to that, but I do think that it can help figure out like what actually happened in certain situations to make sure that there are fair punishments handed out, or fair slaps on the wrist, it seems like a lot of the time, handed out to whoever needs it. So I don't know, hopefully it helps. I'm curious to see what the rigging looks like, because he keeps saying like the most modern technological tools. I'm like, I don't know anything about any of this, but like I want to see it. Just
and to be honest, so you're saying the most modern technological tools, why were you not using them before?
Exactly. You're $1 billion business. Like you have the money to do it.
You're charging millions on millions of dollars per track.
Yeah.
You get sponsorships. You can't afford the most modern technology.
And then also, like, is there a backup for the backup? Because like if they're shipping this thing around the world, are we sure it's gonna like be consistently fine to be set up? Or like tech fails all the time, so
it's fair. And to be honest, like I'm just honestly clicking in now that this is going to be a thing that is shipped race to race, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, more shipping, more logistics. You guys, what happened to sustainability?
Well, they're just gonna change the fuel instead and meet their goals.
I was actually I have like a life cycle analysis course pretty much I'm doing right now, and I propositioned this to my team to be like, we should do an actual life cycle analysis of F1, because we know that they've given us emissions analysis for like kind of their foreground is what I'll call it, like everything we see them doing, they've given emissions for that. So like we could do that and they'd probably be similar numbers, but there is more that goes on in the background, right? And like if you put it into a system with all the teams as well, like how much emissions are actually involved. So it could have been fun, but it would have been a lot of work. It's fine.
It would have been a lot of work. That's not what all it is. So also an update, which is something that was announced like actually I think earlier, or maybe it was in the rumor mill, which ended up becoming true. So direct communication to the race director is over, is gone. We figured it was going to be gone, especially after Abu Dhabi, because it does seem like, I don't know, Caitlin, if you listen to the rest of the more recent tapes that have come out of that, but it was basically someone at Red Bull. I don't know who it is. I know you're all listening to this wondering, being like, how do you not remember it? But I don't remember. But it was not Christian Horner. It was not Toto. We heard that back and forth, right? But it was someone else from Red Bull.
Was it Helmet?
Was it Helmet? I don't know who it was, who gave the recommendation of what to do with the unlapped safety cars. And then Michael Masi like ended up doing that word for word. Yeah. I need to send you the clip, but apparently it was like trending again all over Twitter and
Michael
stuff.
Masi listened to a recommendation from a team for that call.
I don't know if he did or not. Like the way that it's framed, though, it does seem like he did what. Yeah, I don't know. We don't want to demonize Michael Masi more. He's gone, but
that's insane.
I'll send you the clip because the issue is, I guess like because the people in the UK are using a different provider, they can't really see this stuff. So then the video started going viral again, and it was like people are like, how do we not know this? And it's like, no, it was like on the YouTube video and stuff online, but a lot of people didn't see it because they were seeing it through a different provider than what we were seeing. You know what I mean? Like, you know how there's like F1 TV versus TSN here in Canada, or Sky Sports. So anyways, I might just have started a rumor, but I swear it was there in that video. So to quote him directly, direct radio communications during the race, currently broadcast live by all TVs, will be removed in order to protect the race director from any pressure and allow him to take decisions peacefully. It will still be possible to ask questions to the race director according to a well-defined, non-intrusive process. So
we just won't be able to hear my Toto go to Michael, I've sent you an email. Or maybe it happens in the background,
or maybe that's the well-defined process, the well-defined non-intrusive process started with Toto sending an email.
I'm just remembering all the memes about that email. Do you remember it? People are like putting it out there with like highlighted stuff, like getting a like 20-year-old to like scan the PDF for
exactly. Oh my god. That was a moment.
I feel like
heavy accent,
because that only really came up for this season, so it was new for everyone. So I'm glad we got to at least see it, right? But I think it's very true. It put a lot of extra pressure. You have like how many million people watching this to put pressure when they see these come up. Yeah. So just, you know what, it's probably better. Yeah, it won't be as fun, but it's probably better.
Exactly. And I think it's just the millions of people, but then also people that are speculating, right? Because like we don't hear everything, so you might only hear like snippets of things, so you might not only get half the truth, and then it demonizes someone that maybe didn't deserve it. Like there's a whole shit ton of stuff that comes with that. But I also think for like sanity's sake, in terms of like Christian and Toto, I also think it's just good for them, because now it's like maybe they just have to send an email and that's it, versus like begging on the phone to be taken seriously.
Well, honestly, to be honest, it seemed like Toto didn't give a shit that his conversations were being broadcast, but Christian did comment that he didn't like it.
Oh,
right?
I didn't see that.
I think Christian was like, oh yeah, we should not be like showing these conversations with the race director.
He did say that. Which fine, whatever. Which no, we agreed.
We don't often agree with Christian, but can agree with Christian.
We actually did agree. I think like when Abu Dhabi happened, we're like, they need to stop that. So here we go. They're stopping it. Gotcha. And then the big giant question mark that this still haven't sorted, which is regarding the unlapping when there is a safety car final lap situation. The thing that Lance Stroll brought up last week, which was typically, you know, everyone would have been able to unlap themselves, or, you know, not just half of them would be able to pass, like all that kind of stuff that he was talking about. Ben said the unlapping procedures behind safety car will be reassessed by the Formula One Sporting Advisory Committee and presented to the next F1 commission prior to the start of the season. So we still don't have any questions answered there on what happened, because we know that there are procedures that were not followed. Like all the drivers had an understanding of what was supposed to happen and none of that was followed, and that Michael did his own thing. So I don't even know if this is like an unlapping procedure problem or if it's like they just need to, again, that consistency, right? Like the procedure was there, just it wasn't followed. So
I don't know. Because I think that like they'll have to get input from the drivers, which is why they have that drivers committee, like represented by Seb and George. So interested to know if the drivers actually want to change a procedure that's like well known and established. They just want it followed by the race director, I think.
Yeah, that seems to be what I've been hearing from the drivers too, is like we just want the rules to be followed instead of changed to like fit a narrative. So yeah, that's it. So what do you think Michael Masi is doing right now?
Probably on vacation. You know, if I was him, I would like literally not turn a computer on for a solid few months. Just get away. Oh, I don't know if we've ever talked about it. I don't know if it even just came out this week, but like that's what Nicholas Latifi did. He had to hire like a bodyguard when he went to UK. He was afraid of Lewis Hamilton fans literally like wrecking him.
I did not know that.
After Abu Dhabi, yeah, that's what I read.
Holy shit.
So I was like, damn.
Not good. People,
there's a lot of hate that like translates from online to real world, and it's like that's not okay in either place. So
no, 100%. And especially with gosh, as much as people are like, oh, it's just like online, if you have been in Canada any little bit for the last 22 days, you've seen what happens when something online ends up going in person, and it does happen a lot of the time. So yeah, if I were him, I don't know, I think it's like one of those things where it's like go on vacation, like live your life, but I also think that like you can't live based off of what people think of you, and he probably is like, he just has to think of himself in a good way, you know what I mean? Like he's got to think that he made the best decision based on the information he had at the time. Caitlin's face for our audio listeners, you can see your face right now, because I think holding on to that could like be soul sucking.
You never want to live in the past, right? Like
exactly. You just
but I think it's good he's getting out of that role, voluntold or not.
Exactly. Getting out of the role, taking the heat off of it, being less visible, so not the face of
and like he's still in the world, so he can do it. Like evidently he must love motorsport, so he's able to stay in the world of it, like help make it better. So
right, exactly. Okay, folks, well, that's today's episode. As we mentioned, next week Caitlin will be on vacation. Courtney will also be living her life, so there'll be someone else joining us who I'm really excited about for you all to meet her. And we will, I don't know, whatever, like, keep in touch with us.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at @getcheckered. You can also email us. Turns out people are doing that, so go to getcheckered. Is it .com? Or .ca? Yeah. Which one do we get? .com? Great. So you can contact us there. And is there anything else?
Just keep in touch, you guys, honestly.
Yeah, race, like the start of the season is coming up super fast. So pretty soon it's gonna get crazy. Yeah.
Okay, we'll let you go. So you'll hear from Shani next week. Hopefully Courtney and I will be back the week after. We'll see. We don't know yet. That's too far in the future.
Well, stay checkered, friends.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye.